Grab your coffee, mama. It's time for coffee, clients, and nap time. I'm Sarah Marie, and this is your guide to building a business that works for you and your family. Here, we'll dive into creating a thriving business that lets you be the hands-on parent you want while designing the life you've always dreamed of. So if you're ready to balance business success with family life and make it all work in a way that feels right for you, then let's dive in. Hey mama, and welcome back to Coffee, Clients and Nap Time. I'm Sarah Marie, and today is the 30th of September, so tomorrow is the 1st of October. So in the spirit of that, we're talking about something you've probably seen all over Instagram and LinkedIn, 90-day sprints. Every productivity expert and business coach is banging on about them at the moment. Plan in 90-day sprints, forget annual goals, work in quarters, transform your business in just 90 days. And if you're anything like me, you've probably looked at those frameworks and thought, that sounds really great for someone who doesn't have a toddler who's decided naps are optional, or a teenager who needs picking up from 3 different activities, or a family that needs dinner on the table every night. But the concept behind 90-day sprints is actually brilliant for mums in business. We just need to adapt it to our reality instead of trying to force ourselves into someone else's productivity framework. So today I want to talk about what 90-day sprints actually are, why everyone seems obsessed with them at the moment, and more importantly, how we can make them work when your life doesn't look like the corporate executive's calendar. Okay, let's start with the basics. A 90-day sprint is essentially a 3-month planning cycle where you focus on achieving 1 to 3 major goals instead of trying to tackle everything at once. The idea comes from the business world, where companies plan in quarters rather than just having vague annual goals. The thinking is that 90 days is long enough to make meaningful progress on something, but short enough that you can stay focused and motivated without getting derailed or losing momentum. It's also long enough that life circumstances don't usually change drastically within that time frame. You can reasonably predict what your next 3 months will look like in a way you can't predict about your entire year. The typical framework goes something like this. You choose your top priority goals for the quarter, break them down into monthly milestones, create weekly action plans, and then review your progress at the end of the 90 days before planning your next sprint. In theory, by the end of the year, you've completed 4 focused sprints and achieved 12 major goals instead of spreading yourself thin trying to do everything all year and accomplishing nothing significant. It sounds great, doesn't it? And it's a solid framework. The problem is that most of these frameworks are designed for people who have predictable schedules, teams to delegate to, and lives that don't revolve around school holidays, sick kids, and toddler meltdowns. But there's a reason the 90-day sprints have become so popular in the business world, and it's worth understanding why before we adapt them for our reality. Firstly, they work on how our brains actually function. Our brains aren't great at maintaining motivation for year-long goals. 12 months feels too far away to create urgency, and it also feels too long to sustain excitement. 3 months hits a sweet spot where the deadline feels real enough to motivate action, but not so far away that you procrastinate indefinitely. Secondly, they force you to prioritize ruthlessly. When you only have 90 days to make progress, you can't try to do everything. You have to choose what actually matters most right now, which is a skill many of us struggle with because everything feels urgent and important. Thirdly, they create natural review points. Instead of getting to December and wondering where the year went, you're reviewing your progress every 3 months. This means you can course correct quickly if something isn't working instead of spending an entire year heading in the wrong direction. Fourthly, they allow for flexibility and adaptation. Your Q1 priorities may be completely different from your Q4 priorities because your business evolves, your life changes, or market conditions shift. Working in sprints means you can adjust your focus based on current reality rather than being locked into goals that you set 12 months ago when everything was different. And finally, they create momentum through completed cycles. There's something psychologically powerful about finishing a sprint, reviewing what you accomplished, and starting fresh with a new focus. It prevents the burnout that comes from feeling like you're always working towards something but never actually achieving it. Now let's talk about why the typical 90-day sprint framework falls apart when you're a mum running a business from home. The biggest issue is that these frameworks assume that you have control over your schedule and uninterrupted blocks of time to focus on your goals. They assume that when you plan to work on something, you can actually work on it without interruptions, sick kids, school holidays, or unexpected family emergencies. They also assume consistent capacity throughout the 90 days. But our capacity as mums in business fluctuates constantly. Some weeks we have childcare and school routines humming along smoothly. Other weeks we have sick kids, school holidays, or family commitments that completely derail our plans. Most 90-day frameworks also assume that you can go deep into focus mode when needed. They talk about blocking out entire days for strategic work or intensive project completion. But when you're working in 2-hour blocks between school drop-off and pickup, or trying to squeeze work into nap times that may or may not happen, deep focus days aren't always realistic. Another issue is that the standard frameworks don't account for the mental load we carry. They assume your brain is available to focus on business goals, not simultaneously managing the school permission slip that's due tomorrow, the doctor's appointment you may need to book, and the birthday present you need to buy for the party this weekend. And let's be honest, most of these frameworks are designed by people who have partners, assistants, or support systems that handle the logistics of daily life. When you're the person managing both the business and the household, the standard just focus for 90 days advice isn't particularly helpful. So how do we take this genuinely useful concept and make it work for our reality? Here's what I've learned through trial and error in my own business. First, I never plan for 90 full days of work. In reality, it's usually about 65 or 70 days of actual work. This automatically builds in a buffer time for all the things that can happen: sick kids, school holidays, unexpected life events, and those days where everything just falls apart. If I get all 90 days to work, well, that's brilliant. I'm ahead. But I'm planning for reality, not ideal circumstances. Second, I like to choose only one major goal per sprint, not 3. I know the experts say that you can handle multiple goals, but when you're also managing a household and raising kids, focusing on one significant business goal is ambitious enough. Everything else becomes supporting activities or maintenance work. Third, I plan in seasons, not just quarters. Q1 and Q4 in my business look completely different because of school holidays. My Q1 sprint accounts for the summer holidays, and my Q4 sprint accounts for December Christmas chaos. I adjust my expectations based on the season of life and business that I'm in. Fourth, I measure progress in small wins, not massive milestones. Instead of saying, launch a new program by the end of Q2, I might say, complete the program outline, record the first module, and test it with 3 beta clients. Breaking goals into smaller, achievable pieces means I can celebrate progress even when life gets chaotic. Fifth, I build in flex weeks. Every month of my sprint includes 1 week that's designed as a flex or catch-up week. This is why I never account for the full 90 days. If I'm on track, I use it to work ahead or tackle admin tasks. If I'm behind, I use it to catch up without feeling like I failed at the entire sprint. I also separate my business development goals from my maintenance work. My 90-day sprint goal is always about moving my business forward. It's about launching something new, improving a system, or reaching a new milestone. But I accept that the maintenance work, such as serving existing clients, managing admin, and keeping up with my marketing, will continue alongside that sprint, but doesn't actually count towards my major goal. And finally, I review every 30 days, not just at 90. Monthly check-ins let me adjust course quickly if something isn't working or if life has thrown a curveball that means my original plan needs tweaking. One of the questions I get asked is whether 90-day sprints work for all types of businesses, because not everyone is doing the same kind of work. If you're primarily doing client service work like I am, your sprints might focus on business development goals while your day-to-day client work happens separately. So your sprint goal might be develop a new service offering, or increase your rates, or streamline your client onboarding process. If you're building a product-based business, your sprints might focus on product development, inventory management, or marketing initiatives. Your Q1 sprint may be developing a new product line, while your Q2 sprint focuses on growing your email list or improving your website conversion rates. If you're creating content or courses, your sprints might align with creation and launch cycles. Q1 might be all about creating your course content, Q2 about building your launch strategy, Q3 about actually launching, and Q4 about refining based on feedback. The key is choosing goals that move your business forward rather than just maintaining what you already have. A sprint goal should feel like progress, like you're building something or improving something, not just keeping the wheels turning. Now let me share some mistakes I've made and that I've seen other mums make with 90-day sprints so you can avoid them. The first mistake is choosing goals that are too ambitious for your actual available time. Remember, you don't have 40 hours a week of focused work time. Be realistic about what you can actually accomplish in the pockets of time that you have. The second mistake is not accounting for the inevitable chaos. School holidays, sick kids, family events, all these things will happen. So build buffer time into your plan instead of assuming everything will go perfectly. The third mistake is trying to make progress every single week. Some weeks you will be in maintenance mode, just keeping things running. That's okay. Progress doesn't have to be linear. The fourth mistake is not reviewing and adjusting along the way. If something isn't working a month into your sprint, don't wait until the 90 days is over to realize it. Adjust course early and often. The fifth mistake is comparing your sprints to other people's results. Someone else's 90-day transformation story probably doesn't include the full context of their life, support systems, and circumstances. Focus on your own progress, not their highlight reel. And of course, the biggest mistake is beating yourself up when life gets in the way. A sprint isn't failed just because you can't complete every single thing you planned. If you've made any progress towards your goal, that's a win to be celebrated. If you're thinking about trying a 90-day sprint, here's how to start without overwhelming yourself. First, choose one goal that would make a meaningful difference in your business. Not 3 goals, not 5 goals, just one goal that matters. Ask yourself, if I only accomplish one thing in the next 3 months, what would make the biggest impact? Then break that goal down into 3 monthly milestones. What needs to happen in month 1? What builds on that in month 2? And what completes the goal in month 3? Then look at your calendar and be honest about your capacity. When are school holidays? When do you have family commitments? When will your capacity be limited? Block out these times as low capacity weeks and plan accordingly. Then, identify your smallest viable progress. What's the minimum you could accomplish each week that would still move you towards your end goal? This becomes your baseline for when life gets chaotic. Then, schedule your monthly review. Put it in your calendar right now. Maybe on the last Friday of each month, spend 30 minutes reviewing what worked, what didn't, and what needs to be adjusted for the next month. And finally, I highly suggest finding an accountability partner or group. Having someone to check in with makes it so much easier to maintain momentum. This could be another mum in business, a mastermind group, or even just a friend who agrees to ask you about your progress. As we wrap up, I just want to remind you of a few key things about 90-day sprints. They're a tool, not a rule. If quarterly planning doesn't work for your business or life rhythm, try 60-day sprints or even monthly themes. The point is to create focus and momentum, not to rigidly follow someone else's system. Progress looks different for everyone, so your sprint might result in huge, visible changes, or it might result in foundational work that sets you up for future success. Both are valuable. Your sprint can and should adapt to your life. If circumstances change mid-sprint, adjust your goal or timeline. The framework exists to serve you, not the other way around. And remember, maintenance work still matters. Just because you're focused on one sprint goal doesn't mean your day-to-day client work or business operations doesn't count. Those things keep your business running, even while you're working on growth. And most importantly, any progress is good progress. You don't have to achieve some massive transformation every 90 days to be building a successful business. Consistent, sustainable progress beats dramatic sprints that lead to burnout. So if this episode has you thinking about planning your own 90-day sprint, I would love to hear about it. Send me a DM at BalanceBizMama and tell me, what's the one goal you'd focus on for your next sprint? Or what's been holding you back from trying this kind of planning? And if you want support and accountability as you work through your sprint, come join us in the Balance Biz Mama Circle. So, remember, Mama, 90-day sprints are brilliant, but only if you adapt them to your actual life instead of trying to fit your life into someone else's productivity framework. You don't need uninterrupted focus time and a support team to make meaningful progress in your business. You just need a clear goal, a realistic plan, and the willingness to adjust when life inevitably gets in the way. Your version of a successful sprint may look different from what you see on Instagram, and that's perfectly okay. What matters is that you're moving forward in a way that's sustainable for your business and for your family. Until next time, plan realistically, progress consistently, And remember, you've got this.
Thanks for joining me on Coffee Clients and Naptime. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mum who's ready to build their dream life. You can also join our Facebook page or Instagram to stay connected every day of the week. The link is in the show notes. Just remember, you've got this, and I'm here to help every step of the way.